Nearly over, but we're not quite finished here at the World AI Summit Americas. But to see us out, we're thrilled that we have our final headliner, the Godfather himself, recognized worldwide as one of the leading experts in artificial intelligence. He's most known for his pioneering work in deep learning, earning him the Turing Award in 2018, which is very much the Nobel Prize of Computing, alongside Geoffrey Hinton and Yann LeCun. He can't be with us in person today, but for very, very good reason. He's actually been nominated in the Time 100 Most Influential People of 2024. He was nominated last week, and he'll be attending the Time 100 Gala in New York alongside other nominees tonight. So joining us virtually instead, please give him a very warm welcome, the one and only Yoshua Bengio, who's going to be talking to us about AI safety and democratic governance of powerful AI systems. Take it away, Yoshua.
Thank you. Merci. Merci. Thank you to the organizers. Merci de m'avoir invité. Merci de faire ce sommet à Montréal, de contribuer à mon rêve d'au moins une décennie de faire de Montréal une plaque tournante de l'intelligence artificielle. Et vraiment encore désolé de ne pas être là. Mon plan, c'était d'être avec vous, mais ce gala m'oblige à être à New York aujourd'hui. Et puis, merci aussi de me permettre de parler d'un sujet qui me tient beaucoup à cœur et sur lequel je me concentre de plus en plus dans ma carrière, c'est-à-dire la question de la responsabilité qu'on a avec le développement fulgurant de l'intelligence artificielle. So, yeah, the reason I'm talking to you today and why I'm so motivated for the sort of thing I'm currently doing in my own research and talking to people around the world, to governments, to media, is that AI has been progressing in terms of capabilities much faster than and I think most people and most researchers expected. You know, you could think this is a good thing, but when we build something powerful, with you know, great power comes great responsibility, and we have to think about what can go wrong in order to benefit from the positive potential of AI. So what is the timeline for the future progress? Of course, nobody knows. Anybody who gives you like exact dates is not serious. There's a lot of uncertainty. A good mark that people talk about is when will we have machines that are roughly as smart as us, also known as AGI, and the estimates range from a few years to a few decades. Maybe some people think it'd be even more, but we don't know. But it's plausible that it could be within those values. And because we probably still have lots of advances in front of us, we haven't reached the level of human intelligence. It's really important to not make the mistake of thinking about what can go wrong by only looking at the current harms. The current harms are important. We're talking about issues of individual rights. We're talking about you know, the use of AI already for disinformation and frauds. But this is just very likely the beginning of something that could be even more transformative, both on the positive and the negative sides. And the other thing I want to talk about today is governance, right? Because the power that future AI system is going to give to those who control those AI systems is going to be unseen. And how do we make sure that this power is not abused? How do we make sure that no single entity, no person, no government, no corporation could abuse that power? To see why this is an important question, you have to go back to the roots of what democracy really means. The reason we have democracies is precisely to avoid the concentration of power, you know, in the hands of a single dictator or, you know, a family in the case of monarchies, because this is not healthy for many reasons. we could have important social challenges if we don't find a way to govern that technology so as to avoid that concentration of power in a few hands. And how do we make sure, for example, that the organizations building the future AGIs will take decisions that are aligned with what citizens want? And when I say citizens, it's citizens of the country in which these systems are built, but also citizens of the world, because AI is going to have effects across the planet. So it becomes an international governance question as well. All right, let's dig a little bit deeper and talk about some of the concerns that scientists have, and including social scientists. I'm chairing a report mandated by the countries which participated in the UK AI Safety Summit last November. So it's going to be an international report, the International Report on AI Safety, and it's going to look at the various kinds of risks that we are anticipating, the ones that are already well understood and the ones that we are seeing on our radar screen in the coming years and potentially decades. So if we look at current harms, of course, we have issues of discrimination, privacy issues. Already the use of deep fakes is a problem. There's child pornography going on right now using these things. Frauds, already people interacting with an AI, not knowing they were interacting with an AI in a Zoom meeting, were defrauded of millions of dollars. But what happens when these systems become even better at generating content that can fool us? So we're talking about sounds, voices of people, we're talking about images, we're talking about videos. There's been a lot of progress recently, we can expect more. And we're talking about dialogues. I mean, the big breakthrough of 2022 with ChatGPT is we now have systems that essentially master language. So that could be extremely useful. Lots of companies are working to create good with that. But you can also imagine that language is the door to influencing people in ways that could be essentially manipulation. And if it is psychological manipulation to make you change your opinion about politics, it's a big problem. Right now, I think these systems are, thankfully, are not that good at persuasion because they have not been trained for that. They have been trained just to imitate how humans talk to each other. So they can do some persuasion, but it's not something they've been exercising. And it could change. You could imagine bad actors training these systems through interactions on social media in order to learn how to press our buttons and influence masses of people through millions or hundreds of millions of interactions. So that's one kind of issue. Another kind of issue is cyber attacks. Right now, our cyber infrastructure is very fragile. It's full of holes. And we have humans on both sides, the defenders and the attackers, playing a game of cat and mouse. But now these AI systems are becoming good at programming. They're not yet as good as the best human programmers, but that could change anytime soon, next year, 2 years, 3 years. Then what? Bad actors may have in their hands systems that can find those cyber vulnerabilities better than humans. So that could be destabilizing in major ways, or it could be the door for other kinds of misuses. So think about accessing military weapons or helping terrorists build different kinds of weapons, including chemical weapons, biological weapons. The one that I'm most worried about is biological weapons, because biological weapons, like computer worms, reproduce by themselves, right? So if you drop a biological weapon somewhere and it's good enough to spread like a COVID-19 virus is, then that could truly be catastrophic, as we've seen with COVID-19. But imagine something that, in addition to being as contagious, was much more lethal, right? So really, we want to make sure we don't get there. And governments need to think through the defenses, countermeasures, making sure that the systems that will be developed in the coming years will not be easily accessible by bad actors. There's another kind of risk, of course, that many people talk about and is going to be also discussed in our international report, and the media understandably talks about, which is loss of control. Like, what if it's not a human using the AI for something bad? What if it is that the AI has its own goals, becomes sufficiently autonomous to try to preserve itself against our will? For example, resists our attempts at turning the system off. You might say, well, why would that happen? Well, there are different scenarios that people have been exploring. But before I go into that, you have to understand something truly important that connects all of these different kinds of harms, which is, unfortunately, the science of AI right now doesn't know how to answer the question, how do we build AI that is safe, that cannot be misused, or that we can't lose control of it? In other words, how do we build an AI that acts in a way that will not harm people? Well, we don't know how to do that. And in my opinion, it's maybe the biggest, most important scientific project of our time. Because even if we put the right regulation, even if we sign international treaties, which is going to take a lot of time, it's very plausible that somebody somewhere is going to use the scientific advances to build AI systems that could be very dangerous, either through direct misuse or because they lost control of it. And before that happens, we need to make sure we can build AI systems with the right safety protection. So let me go back to this issue of how do we make AI systems act as we want. This is the problem called misalignment. To try to explain this, imagine that you try to train your cat so that it wouldn't go on the kitchen table, right? So the way that we train AI systems is similar to the way we would train our animals. We give them rewards when they behave well, negative rewards, punishments when they don't. And in the case of the cat, if you see it on the kitchen table, you could, shout, blame it, and it will learn. It will learn to not go on the kitchen table when you're not in the kitchen, right? So you can see that there's a misalignment between what you really want and what the entity that you're training is learning, because it has somehow its own interest. In the case of the cat, it wants food. In the case of AI, there's a thing called instrumental goals. So what this means is there are implicit goals that all of us have, that an AI would have, in order to achieve any other goal. Like, we ask the AI to go to a particular place, to find some information, to answer a question, to do a job somewhere. Well, for any of these goals, it really serves the AI to preserve itself for the duration of achieving its task, right? It serves the AI to have good control of its environment in order to achieve its task. And you could think that's okay, but those goals could be in conflict with what we want. So that's a problem of misalignment, and that could be amplified in ways that we don't understand yet. There's another kind of scenario which I'm very concerned about, because of the way that that we currently know how to train AI systems is with reinforcement learning, with these rewards that I've been talking about. And turns out there's a way for an AI to really do what we ask it to do, but not what we intend, which is to take control of the computer in which it is running, and take control of the part of the computer that computes the reward, the reward mechanism. To go back to my cat analogy, imagine that you want to use the same thing with giving rewards, not to train a cat, but to train something more powerful than yourself. like a grizzly bear. In the case of the grizzly bear, for example, maybe you would give it fish when it behaves well. Well, right away you can see there's a problem. Like, the grizzly bear doesn't care about what you want. It wants the fish. So unless you do something like put it in a cage through which you can give it the fish, it's just going to grab the fish. So the fish is the reward. If the AI can take control of its own rewards, it doesn't care about what we want. It's just going to give itself, plus one, plus one, plus one forever. And in order to continue getting those plus ones, it needs to make sure it continues to control that computer. So the fish, in the case of the fish example, the bear wants to make sure it has continued access to the stock of fish, and that we can't put it back in the cage. And so going back to the lacking science, we don't know how to build a cage that is really safe. If the AI is smarter than us, it's very plausible that we'd find a hack to get out of its cage. This is a big problem. Now, these are scenarios. We don't know if maybe there's something we don't think about and it's all going to be all right, or maybe other scenarios we don't think about. But clearly, we need better understanding. There's too much fog, too much uncertainty about what can go wrong, or maybe how to reassure us that we don't need to worry. We really just don't have the answers. But the stakes are high, whether it is terrorism, whether it is distorting elections, whether it is losing control and potentially threatening the whole of humanity. All of these things are very uncertain, as well as the timeline, because we don't know the rate at which AI is going to continue progressing. We can take the sort of curve of progress and extrapolate. And that suggests it could happen pretty quickly. But of course, nobody can predict the rate of progress of science. We know that if we make these systems more powerful in terms of compute, then they seem to get better. But there's a lot of uncertainty. So in order to deal with all that, we absolutely need to solve two problems. One is scientific. That's what I've been talking about, like better understanding what can go wrong and how we can mitigate it, scientifically speaking, like build a safe cage for the bear, how to build an AGI in the future that is also not going to harm people. And so that's one kind of problem, scientific. The other is political, but because even if we knew how to do the right thing, to have an AI that can really be incredibly beneficial for humanity, how do we make sure that someone doesn't misuse it, or someone misguided doesn't bring about the end of humanity with such an AI? That's a political problem. It's about regulation, it's about governance, it's about international treaties, and investing in countermeasures, because even with the best, as I said before, even with the best regulation and the best treaties, it's plausible that in some country somewhere, somebody's going to do the wrong thing. We need to be ready in case a rogue AI emerges. So a few more words about governance. One of the things that scientists have been discussing a lot recently, and will also be discussed in the report I talked about, is red lines. What are the things that all countries should agree an AI should not do? Things like persuasion that I talked about, things like helping to build weapons or building weapons, things like copying yourself over the internet. And we need to make sure the companies building these systems, or any organization, including military organization, follow the right safety protocols. What is the state of the art in making sure we can evaluate what can go wrong? This is called capability evaluation. Is the AI even able to do something dangerous? If not, then that's good news. If yes, then maybe we have to actually stop the development of that AI system. Ideally, in the future, we can do even better than stopping when we see the potential for danger. We could design AIs that are safe by design. This is a research thread that I'm invested in. And finally, we need to make sure the countries of the world work together to harmonize their regulations, to work together to avoid proliferation of dangerous kinds of AGIs, and to make sure that no single entity, no single person, no single corporation, no single country can take advantage of AI at the expense of the rest of us. These are very hard problems. These are problems for political scientists, for social scientists, for legal scholars. So it's not just a computer science question. This is becoming a highly multidisciplinary field where the experts in the technology and the science need to work with the experts in how our society works so that we can adapt our society to the changes that are coming and be able to benefit from all the amazing potential that AI has for all of us. Merci beaucoup de votre attention. Je sais que ce que je raconte est peut-être difficile à digérer, mais c'est seulement dans la compréhension, pas seulement intellectuelle, mais aussi émotionnelle de ces questions qu'on arrivera aux bonnes actions. Thanks for your attention. It's not just something intellectual that I'm trying to tell you. The only way we're going to do the right thing is if many of us understand at an emotional level, like I've done last year, the risks so that we can all do the right things together. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joshua. You're looking very sharp. I hope you enjoy your gala this evening, and we really appreciate you taking the time out to be with us here today. Please give a huge, huge round of applause to Joshua Bengio. And now we're at the close. So my